Hello, this is Gordon Clark of Toe of Animation Productions, and finally, after a long bit of procrastination and wishful thinking and planning and eating, I finally bring you Let's Play Clock Tower. Clock Tower was a horror game that was released in 1995 for the Super Famicom, only in Japan, although someone has translated it and made it available for free download online. Now, there was a bit of a funny story about how I discovered this little gem, which is, of course, the only horror game I'll ever play. Well, not really. I'll explain that bit later. But, the interesting story is that, for some reason, summer before last, actually, I was surfing YouTube, just looking at videos, and I somehow got the idea into my head to look for the top 10 scariest video games. And I was going to look for the most reliable list of top 10 scariest video games. So I went to the GameTrailers.tv one, the GT Countdown, Top 10 Scariest Games of All Time. Number 10 was a game on the list called Clock Tower. Now, prior to this, I had been downloading Super Nintendo ROMs because I wanted to create sort of a games library of Super Nintendo games. But I do have a Super Nintendo, but I don't have the money to buy some of the games. Plus, you can't get Clock Tower in the US, folks. So what I had done was I had created a big library of these Super Nintendo games, and one of them happened to be Clock Tower. Now, you know, having looked at the title screen for the game, I thought it was just, you know, sort of a cheap Chrono Trigger knockoff, some RPG that, you know, I don't even know. But apparently, number 10 on the GT Countdown Top 10 Scariest Games of All Time was Clock Tower. And this was, of course, not the one that I'm playing today. It was the sequel for PlayStation, which is one of the 3 of the 4 Clock Tower games that was released in the US. However, I decided to check out Clock Tower for some reason, which, you know, having an anxiety disorder, which makes me more easily frightened than everyone else in the world, and, you know, having seen the sequel to the game on the top 10 scariest games of all time, naturally, I just had to be an idiot and, you know, play the game. But enough about that. Let's check out the ending list. I have unlocked endings B, C, and H, none of which you will see if we're lucky. So, I rather shudder to think what would happen if I pressed continue, so instead I'm going to start a new game and narrate dramatically. Here we go, pressing enter now.
Raised in the Granite Orphanage, Jennifer and her friends were wanted as adopted daughters. It happened in
September 11, 2001, because everything happened that day. Yes, here they are, walking through the woods, very slowly I might add, because all of the characters in this game, for some reason or another, have to walk incredibly slowly. They can run at a fairly decent speed, but when they walk, they have to walk slowly and zombie-like. Oh, if you're looking at the length of this YouTube video, you might notice that it's longer than most. You may be wondering, Toe of Animation, how did you upload such a long video? Here's how I did it. I said, screw you, YouTube, and uploaded it. Not really. I just, you know, one day found that I could upload longer videos. Oh, there's a skull in her hair, if you can see it, and she says this is a nice place, while pointing to the most ominous house in the world. There's steel gray clouds in the background, and the mountains, and the wind howling violently and viciously. And here we are inside the mansion. Look closely at some of the paintings. One of them looks like a man who's horribly disfigured. One of them looks like someone who's been mutilated to death, and so on and so forth. Yes, the main hall is gigantic. I gotta go see Mr. Burrows. Everyone white hair. Yeah, she's apparently from the South, you know, like from Texas. I actually have some friends who live in Texas. They were from Ohio, though, so they're okay. And I have a friend from Texas who lives in Ohio, and he's okay. But, you know, I don't know about you people who are from Texas and live in Texas. Apparently there's, you know, something not quite right. I mean, if you were from Texas and live in Texas, then you've clearly had too much of Texas. You are infected. You have had a Texas overdose. But anyway, meanwhile, back to the game. Look at the mugshot in the heads-up display of Miss Mary. First of all, notice that her hair color in her sprite and her hair color in her mugshot are completely different. Now notice that her mugshot is lit like a horror movie villain, or like someone tearing your flesh off, or someone telling a ghost story, which is what I meant to say when I said tearing your flesh off. Some of the mugshots in this game, quite honestly, are fairly poorly done. Let's look at some of them. A gallery of mugshots. There's Anne's. Well, no, there's Jennifer's. There's Anne's. Don't know why, but this is creeping me out here. Look at the shadows. I mean, this is bizarre. Her face is lit in a very strange way. Now let's look at Laura. Laura, again, very strange lighting on her face. Who made the mugshot for Laura? And when she's talking, it looks like her mouth is just flapping like a fish. I mean, what is going on? Is her mouth like a fish that has been taped to her face? Meanwhile, on to the most eerie-looking one. This is Lottie, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and she looks like a cross between Thomas the Tank Engine, Edward from Thomas the Tank Engine, and Percy from Thomas the Tank Engine. She essentially looks like a bunch of Thomas the Tank Engine characters mashed together in the form of a teenage girl with short red hair, who from behind and for the most part in front, if you're not looking at her chest, looks like a teenage boy. So now, back to the horrific mugshot that is Anne. Why did they give her such a terrible mugshot? That's what it looks like she's saying. I mean, what is this? Inne. Seriously though, her mouth looks like a fish that has been taped to her face. Her cheeks move weirdly. Her hair is... Oh my god, she's Lady Gaga. Everyone, Laura from Clock Tower is Lady Gaga. Just saying. And Lottie is every Thomas the Tank Engine character conceivable. That's, like, seriously, some of the like, when they talk, they don't look like they're saying anything. They look like they're mumbling. Meanwhile, they tell her to go look for Mary, and then the ominous music starts playing. This is the theme for Clock Tower. It's called Looking for Mary, strangely enough. But, I actually have this as a ringtone on my cell phone. Man, this is one of the only horror games I'll ever play, because it's fairly tame as far as horror games go. I mean, you know, as I said before, that's a lie. I said I would explain that bit later, so here we go, explaining that bit. I have played through Darkseid all the way. Oh, there's the scream of terror. But anyway, I've played through Darkseid all the way, and Darkseid 2 most of the way. I will never play them ever again, because they are absolutely horrific. No violence, not a ton of blood, just a bit of blood, really. Not very much at all. No real gore, but the entire thing is just so disturbing. It's not like direct, you know, scare you horror. It's more mess with your mind horror. So, you know, enough about that. So as I showed you earlier, these characters walk incredibly slowly. Step, 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 step. I walk faster than that. My walking is step, 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 step. Mainly because I tend to walk in tune with music. But anyway, she's going to get to the door, and the door is going to be locked. I know this because I have played this game over 100 times. Oh dear, the door is locked. Well, you know, if you actually manage to escape, which is actually possible, there's a key that unlocks that door. But if you escape, you die. So, you know, like if you escape without defeating Scissor Man, might as well spoil it for you. If you escape without defeating Scissor Man, you die. That's just sort of the way it goes in this game. Because, oh dear, I've just broken my contract with AJ. No burping in Let's Plays. Well, it's not his, so who cares. But anyway, apparently, you know, Scissor Man's family has some sort of grudge against Jennifer's family. But the thing is, Jennifer's family doesn't even know that Scissor Man's family exists. So I'm just going to explore the upper level here. You know, I have done this before. I know what's going to happen, but you don't, so I can just keep you guys... Oh, there we go. Perfect timing. Mid-sentence. It's exactly what I was intending to do as well. Just keep on talking until that happened. So, I guess I was successful. Also, notice the color scheme in this game. If you look at the windows, you'll notice that they're very dark red. I don't know how this happened, but also, look at this painting here. What is this a painting of? It looks like, I don't know, it looks like someone who's, like, been stabbed to death and is being hanged by their elbows. There's this little brown thingamabob up here, and there are the fleshy parts that look like the elbows, and there's, like, blonde hair and a blue dress. Maybe it's a scene from later in the game. Probably. I mean, you know, self-referential paintings. This here is like Scissor Man. This is probably the death of Laura. And I don't know who this is. Probably no one important. Because not all the paintings are references to the game. Some of them are. A lot of them are, actually. Some of them, if you look at them, are actually fairly important to the plot. Like, if you look at them, you can figure out what's going on before anything actually happens in the game. But anyway, moving on here. Oh, I just brushed the microphone with my knuckle, which made an interesting sound. But anyway, so, walking along. Oh, I forgot, you can run at this point in the game. There we go. Yeah, occasionally, and occasionally, I do mean occasionally, and I won't wait for it very long, but occasionally, you will have this window just... Oh, there we go! Scared the crap out of me. It will, as you saw, burst open, and wind will blow through the curtains, etc., etc. So yeah, now that I'm calming down, lots of stuff in this game happens where it's supposed to startle you, make you think something bad is about to happen because, you know, it's a horror game. That's just to be expected. But nothing actually happens. There's one in this room, and on my last try at making this Let's Play, I made the mistake of waiting for it. But what it is, I'll just tell you, because, you know, it's no fun if I sit here and wait for it to happen. The TV turns on spontaneously. You're not even near it. Usually it happens when you're standing, like, right next to this table that I've got my cursor on, and, it just turns on, and after that, nothing really happens. I've also heard that this painting right here will bleed occasionally. Oh, dear God. directly on cue. That has never happened before since I've started playing. Oh man, this is footage to really document here. Oh wow. Okay, that is frightening. That has never happened in living memory since I've started playing this game. Oh wow. That was just shocking. That is not something I expected to happen. Right on cue, right as I said bleed. Oh wow. This is psychotic. More psychotic than Lost. By the way, Lost, it's a good show. Watch it. It's confusing, it's psychotic. My mom thinks it's directly from the devil because my dad watched it and she stumbled in on all of the bad parts of the show. But it's a good show. If you can follow the plot, which you can if you watch the entire series, then it's a great show, and I definitely recommend watching it. So, meanwhile, there's this parrot here, macaw. It is a macaw. Just look at the colors, it's a macaw. There's no mistaking that it is a macaw. But interesting story about macaws in horror. There was a documentary on Animal Planet a while ago that I was watching one day when I was a small child and very ill. And it was about macaws in horror, which, you know, you don't see all that many macaws in horror films. But it was talking about how they can be the most absolutely terrifying things ever. They can do pretty much anything. They will, if you want them to, they will attack you. They will let out blood-curdling shrieks on cue. It's amazing what you can get animals to do in movies. But anyway, occasionally something happens. Oh, it's Jaj! Yeah, I totally stole that from another YouTube video about Jack Black and his coctagon. But anyway, oh, this gives away the entire plot right here. It smells like Miss Mary's. Mysterious house, horrific things happening. Bottle of perfume that sounds yes, every bottle of perfume makes a distinct sound. Bottle of perfume that smells like the perfume of your caretaker at the orphanage. I wonder what could be happening here. But anyway, yeah, this is pretty strange and psychotic, like Lost. But yeah, my mom hates Lost because she always walked in at the wrong time. Kind of like when my parents first watched that movie, The Brothers Grimm, where it's basically, you know, it's very Clock Tower-esque, but it uses elements from all of the old fairy tales written by the Brothers Grimm. And it takes them to a whole new level. I never look at the story of, like, the Gingerbread Man or Goldilocks and the Three Bears in the same way ever again. Or The Boy Who Cried Wolf, or Hansel and Gretel, or anything for that matter. But anyway, so back to the game. We're here in this bathroom. This is where the first really scary thing happens. I mean, other than that painting bleeding, which has never happened before since I've started playing this game. But, you know, let's check it out. I don't know why, but now I'm paranoid that the lights are going to burn out in the room I'm sitting in. I mean, I know that's impossible, because I changed the bulb, like, a couple days ago, and it's a, fluorescent bulb. Yes, that makes sense. Oh, I found a fluorescent bulb. It's in the shape of Laura, and it's, you know, hanging from, yeah. Okay, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Okay, for some reason, this part here scared the crap out of me the first time. I don't know why. The whole bleeding painting thing is much scarier. Okay, Jennifer, you know, you should probably run. From now on, I'm going to call all antagonists in this game Jaj. Just because of that one YouTube poop. You know, it's funny. Hey, how's it going? I'm Jaj. But anyway. So, running along here. In fact, you know what? Since I like that YouTube poop so much, I'm going to post a link in the video description. There is a link to the YouTube poop in question in the video description. So anyway, running away from Jaj here. I will no longer call him Scissorman, his name is now Jaj. So we're gonna run into this room, and it's a garage. There we go, garage, climb up the ladder. And right on cue, Scissorman will enter now. There we go. Things seem to be going right this time around. Okay, push down the ladder or he's gonna kill you. Push it down. There you go. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And we'll, you know, stop right here. Occasionally, this guy will give you a true display of how truly witty and clever he really is. Not witty in the haha, that was a witty joke sense, but witty in, you know, he's not stupid sense. There we go. Display of wit and smart intelligence. Run. Okay. Oh, come on. Game over that easy? Oh. Okay, we're gonna cut here and come back here. Running away from Scissorman again. Climb the ladder. Come on, do it. Entering on cue. And push down the ladder. We're gonna stop here, and we're not gonna let her sit down again. Because she's got full health. There is no need. Oh, no, you get up. You get up, woman. There is no need for you to recharge your health. You have full health, as indicated by the blue indicator, and the blue, that is blue. Okay, again, this guy's gonna show that he's no idiot, and we are going to show that we are not idiots. By not letting her sit down. You will not sit down, or you will die. Because that happened last time. Okay, get up, wench. Get up. Ah, really? Really now? Really? Okay, we're gonna cut here, and start again here. Here we go. Okay, this time, we're not even gonna, you know, we're not... The moment he exits the room, we're gonna get down, because I'm tired of being killed by him when he comes through the ceiling. That's just, you know, not necessarily the best way to play the game. You don't win by dying. That's not... Oh, don't climb down, wench! No, no, run! You are stupid. Option, come on. Of course, really, this would be like probably X or something in reality. But I'm playing on a laptop, so I'm just gonna say the name of the key I'm pressing, rather than its function, or the button that it would normally take the place of. Alright, time to find a new hiding spot from Jaj. Climb those stairs, woman. You climb them. Climb them stairs. Stop clud-fussing around and climb those stairs. Clud-fussing. You know, it's a new word I invented. It was actually a term used by a redneck when someone had a license plate that said Cold Fusion that would in it, but of course you can't put the entire you can't put Cold Fusion in its entirety on a license plate, so he had to put CLDFUZN, and this redneck woman was walking by and she said, "What's clud fussin'?" So that's where that comes from. Oh, amazing feats of strength. Normally she would just, you know, drop down and say, "Oh, it's too high." But no, not this time. This time, she climbs right over. Scissorman runs in like a little retard, and, you know, just looks around. I mean, I would be terrified if this kid was running into the room triumphantly waving the scissors over his head. I mean, clearly there's something wrong with him. Like, in reality, this would all be fairly terrifying, except for, you know, you're forgetting one thing. He's 9 years old, and he's not all that tough. If you can push him down that easily, you can take his scissors and run with them. Running with scissors like Weird Al Yankovic. No good. Too high to climb up. That's what I'm talking about. When you're being chased by a killer, you can, you know, the adrenaline rush will cause you to perform amazing feats of strength, such as, you know, climbing up the wardrobe unassisted, which you could normally not do, apparently. We're going to look in this box, and hopefully we're going to find, yep, there's some clothes here. What kind of clothes are these? This is like Barney picked up a black robe. There are some clothes here. What kind of clothes are these? Can you tell me what kind of clothes these are? They're black robes. Yes, they are, and we use them in occult rituals all the time, 'cause this is Barney, and we definitely do that. Okay, I don't even know what the rope is for. Apparently, in one of the endings, you need it later in the game, but I don't even know how to even begin to get to that ending. Broken tableware, blah, blah, blah. You need to remember, if I, you know, jump or make a sudden noise, that I'm playing a horror game in the middle of the night, at the one time this particular game is scary, which is like 2:46 in the morning and 40 seconds. So, you know, I'm gonna be more tense than usual, you might say. Looks like a bird nest. That's 'cause it is a bird nest! If you cannot recognize a bird's nest for being, you know, a bird's nest, then you have mental problems. If it looks like a bird's nest, then chances are it's a bird's nest. Or some sort of squirrel nest. You climb up into that bird's nest, and what is this? The nest is full of eggs and junk. There is a key in here. A key is inside the nest. Okay, stop being repetitive. This is redundant. You say there's a key among the junk. There is a key in here. So, you know, we would assume that, you know, when you said there's a key among the eggs and junk, that there just happens to be a key in there. So you don't need to say it again. That door's locked. Never really realized how creepy this old house I live in is. But, you know, at night, it tends to be a bit creepy. Especially from this gaming nook, because all you can see is just, you know, a little space of the basement. I mean, it's lit, and it lights up a fair portion of the room. In fact, the reason I'm playing back here is to disguise the fact that I'm up at... Oh, God. Again with the random horror. Normally the stuff, you know, waits for you to catch up with it. But no, this time it just happens on its own, of its own accord. Meanwhile, there's Anne. Didn't really like her mugshot that much, because it was poorly done and looked horrid. But, you know, in reality, that wouldn't matter. In reality, if my friend was killed and thrown out a window, I would be pretty upset too, regardless of how hideous their face was. In fact, I know a friend. I have a friend who was in a car crash. They're fairly disfigured. I don't want to name any names, because that would be mean. But I mean, you know, just because they don't look all that great doesn't mean I wouldn't care if they were stabbed to death and thrown out a window. That, I would have problems with that. But anyway, phew, here we go. A lot of random stuff happening. First, the painting bleeding when it's never done that before since I first played this game. And now, you know, random stuff that... Oh, dear. This room. I hate this room. This room is the room to end all rooms. It's sort of like a taxidermist's lab, if you can call it that. It's a bit bizarre and disturbing, because, you know, they're living organs in jars of what may or may not be formaldehyde in the room, and heads of various animals on the wall. I see an elk, and a mountain lion, and a bull, and I forgot the name of this one, so for now I'll just call it a gazelle, even though it is not a gazelle, because gazelles are much smaller. But, okay, occasionally something horrible happens when you open this, and I'm gonna look away, because it's probably gonna happen. No, didn't happen. Oh, thank God. But it's the one scare in this game that I have experienced over and over again, and it still gets me every time. I don't even know why. It doesn't jump at... Well, okay, it sorta does. But the reason it scares me is because every time you don't expect it. I mean, they've managed to create something in this game where you go up and you open the cabinet expecting it, and it doesn't happen. And since it doesn't happen, you do it again expecting it not to happen, and it looks like it's not going to happen because there's a long enough pause, and then all of a sudden, corpse in your face. In the Japanese version, for the PlayStation, it was even worse because then the corpse grew eyeballs and turned into a zombie and started chasing you. But luckily that doesn't happen in this version, because that would be just horrible. But, yeah, some crazy stuff happens in this version that I thought wouldn't happen. I thought the bleeding painting was exclusively in the PlayStation version, and that they were all backwards on this. Here's another room. I don't hate it as much, but I mean, you know, it's pretty scary. A bit. First of all, mannequins in dresses, and there are tons of them. Who keeps all of these, like, who the hell just randomly has a room full of random mannequins wearing dresses? And if I'm not mistaken, yep, there we go, happens most of the time. And this is how I will show you how totally pathetic this kid is. He's trying to knock me down with the scissors so he can stab me with them, and guess what? I push him over. And, you know, tripped over him. But anyway, you know, why doesn't she, you know, think to take those from him? It's, like, simple as that. Just take the scissors. Push him down and take the scissors. Simple as that. Occasionally, and this is very rare, it's happened to me once, and only once, but the floor in this hallway will collapse entirely and you'll fall to your death. But luckily that doesn't seem to be happening this time. Now this time, there's one hiding spot that's absolutely foolproof. I'm not even sure if that's the proper phrase, but I'm gonna use it anyway. Forget it. It's scissorman proof. No matter how, I believe the phrase is actually foolproof. Whatever. I'm having issues tonight. Maybe because it's, you know, close to 3 in the morning, but, it is completely and totally scissorman proof. Why is this? Because, you know, for some reason he's not intelligent enough to figure out that you're hiding behind the cabinet. I mean, apparently he doesn't think to, you know, look up and see that there's space above the wardrobe. The AI in this game, it's not very well thought out. It's not even as well thought out as the AI in Half-Life 2. And that AI is pretty poorly thought out. He's gonna run in, and he's gonna look around, and he's gonna get mad, and he's gonna leave. And then he's gonna look around, and then he's gonna leave. Because for some reason you can always evade him by doing that. He doesn't seem to think there's anything above this point here, or beyond this point here. Don't know why. Maybe he's just stupid. Probably because, who in their right mind uses garden shears as a weapon against someone who's unarmed? No, if you want to kill someone who's unarmed, and I mean, this is kind of stuff you shouldn't know, but I mean, you shouldn't run up waving your arms with a giant pair of scissors, first of all, and, you should have a concealable weapon. Just saying. A giant pair of scissors would not necessarily be considered a weapon that is easily concealed, and, the only way to really get anyone with it is to, run up to them waving your arms and shrieking, like, Death in Harry Potter, who, occasionally gets tired of doing that. But anyway, continuing to explore, yep. This is going better than I expected. I thought, something bad would happen that would cause me to have to start over the entire Let's Play. And I mean, I've died twice. And even that, I'm still going. I'm still going strong here. What's through this door? Just kind of curious here. Of course, curiosity killed the cat. But the cat has 9 lives. Oh, this room. How charming indeed. Most charming room ever. Unplugged record player. How could such tiny little details that are so utterly insignificant be so frightening all of a sudden? Well, anyway, normally, there's a vase behind here with a staff in it, and you have to use that to open some door. So I'm gonna go get that, because, it's an important item later in the game. But, sometimes the unexpected happens, and oh dear, jeez. Again with the whole unexpected thing. It's not a really scary game, but sometimes it catches you off guard here. I mean, realistically, who would use garden shears as a weapon? I mean, it's not gonna work, guy. Wait, better idea. Run this way. This way. I have a plan. I have you now, said Darth Vader. Oh. Come on. Running through the hall. Jump, jump, jump. Scissor Man can never make this jump. 'Cause the floor crumbles. Oh yeah, but now I'm trapped, aren't I? Well, that wasn't all that smart of me. What am I gonna do now? Oh well. There's a very key plot point on this side of the gap, so might as well go for it. The wall being painted, I mean, that's a terrible job. I could do better than that, and I have no experience with building walls. But the wall painted over is, a key, very key sign here that, something's up. Okay, here. Look at that crate. There it is, big crate. Sometimes, occasionally, that will happen. In fact, most of the time that happens. In fact, every time I walk into a room in my house, that happens, because I have a crazy black cat named Zeke, who is crazy and crazy black, and he likes hiding in places and jumping out and scaring me. So, anyway... way. Um, there's a wall there. Yep. And then there's a big crack in it, and there's a stick, or a 2x4, or whatever. So you're gonna take the stick or whatever it is and break down the wall like that. Crumble. The wall has crumbled. Exclamation point! There's a room over there! Attention, duelists! There's a room over there! And my hair is a cat that is licking itself. That is weird. So anyway, enough with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged references. Let's get in through that door. Room thing. And you will see to your right, or your left, if you're, viewing it from the perspective of the player, that there is a skeleton in the corner. The room has been closed off, and there's some important stuff on the ground, so you might want to look at that. In fact, let's start with this paper here. You will... Okay, fine, whatever. It looks like a chart. The patients were 2 newborn babies. That's vital information later on. You need to remember that. Very key. Looks like a chart of some sort. Mary's and patients' names. The name of the master of the house. Mary Burroughs. Oh my gosh. Mystery solved. That is the entire mystery of the game solved. Right there. A black medical bag. A name's embroidered here. Walter Simpson. Can you guess who Walter Simpson is? Walter Simpson? No, I thought you... Oh, no, she is going to say it. Father? Yes, that is her father.
Jennifer, I am your father.
It's not true. It's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be the truth. I am a skeleton.
And so we see a cutscene where the plot of the game is explained in a very cryptic note. It's holding a piece of paper. Looks like a memo. This cutscene always startles me when it comes up, because it's like the last thing you expect to see. Just, Jennifer cradling a skeleton in her arms. Jennifer Connelly, by the way. No, Jennifer Simpson, but
11/10/1986.
This is the 3rd day. I, Dr. Walter Simpson, have been in here. I'll not last long. Before I die, I will record this. There are twin children who are a blemish on this world. When the lady was to give birth, I was called to this house. She gave birth to 2 demons.
Demons.
When they were born, they ate my right hand. That's a bit random. They were ill, their bodies deformed. They should have died. But they lived. I should have tried to... Breathing is painful. The air in this room is already gone. They are in a cradle under the star. Jennifer. 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 So yes, after that incredibly creepy memo... Oh, by the way, when he says the star, he is referring to a pentagram. Because, the antagonists of this game, they're Satanists, just saying. So, it's sort of a fight between good and evil, between normal people and Satanists. I wouldn't be sure if they're Christians, and either way, that doesn't necessarily make them, good. Because, I know some Christians who are just, as far as people go, pretty bad. Because, you see, the thing... Christians, most of the time, tend to realize not to, grasp this concept very well, for the most part, but, and mainly young Christians with fairly poor education as well, have a much harder time of grasping this concept, but not all Christians are good, and not all atheists are bad. In fact, a lot of atheists are good. In fact, most, if not all of them, are fairly normal people. Just saying. So all of you fairly poorly educated Christian children out there, well, how am I supposed to get out of this situation then? Is there, something I can do? Maybe the rope? Use it on the gap? Oh, there we go. That's how you use the rope. Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad I figured that out. But enough ranting about religion, because even mentioning religion will tend to make you more enemies than friends. So, to all you fairly, ending up the subject here, to all of you fairly poorly educated Christian children, and I'm talking about children who go to Christian schools who are Christians. Believe me, I went to a Christian school for my elementary years, and I believed for the longest time that atheists were inherently bad people. Oh jeez. Is it Scissor Man? No, it's probably a cat. Yep. I told you. But anyway, so, for the most part, they're normal people, these atheists. Just, and if anyone's still watching at this point, you don't even have the right to get offended, because if you're still watching this, you have no life. Quite honestly, if you are watching this, you are either a very close friend of mine who does not want to offend me by closing the video and stopping the video, by just not watching it. You don't want to offend me. And, I value that in a friend. They don't want to offend me by turning off my videos before finishing them. But, you're either a close friend, a big fan, or a complete loser if you're still watching this video up to this point. I mean, my commentary is not even all that entertaining. So you just should not get offended because of my whole discussion about uneducated Christian children at Christian schools who think atheists are bad people. This crevice looks pretty deep. There's something shiny in there. I wonder what it is. I don't. It's a key. I have to get it. But later. A maternity magazine? Question mark. Okay, you've already figured this out. Books are lined up here. But that is the most obvious thing ever. It's a bookshelf. Oh, great. I should have expected that, because, having the whole, Scissor Man in the place of the staff. Now I have to find the satanic idol. Darn satanic idols! But yeah, apparently there's a satanic idol, and you have to find it because it's the key to open a little trapdoor in the middle of a pentagram on the floor. Back to the subject of Christian children versus all atheists. To you Christian children who think atheists are bad people, they're not. It's the Satanists we have to worry about. I mean, really, how much more evil can you get than worshipping the Prince of Darkness? Okay, that door's locked. I need the ceremony key to get in there. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back. I could get that idol while I'm here. It'll get me a couple steps closer to completing the game. And, I don't want to draw this Let's Play out longer than it needs to be, because it's already starting to get boring. My humor is dying. I mean, the longer the video, the less humor comes into it. Enne. Yes, you're going to hear me saying enne quite a bit. I tend to do that in Let's Play videos. But anyway, we have to climb these stairs, and there are some statues, and you have to, look at them, examine them really closely, and blah blah blah, and you get a statue, and you put the statue in a hole, and it opens a trap door, and the trap door opens, and there's a cave, and in the cave there is a demon child who, can I... Oh, I can put the plank of wood across now. There we go. But yeah, I could explain to you the entire rest of the game in about a minute, but it's going to take me longer to get there. You have to examine all of these statues. Okay, there's nothing on this one. This one's clean. I think it's this one. Yeah. And it shows you its hand, but really where the statue is, let's see, the statue's bosom. So essentially there was this demon statue in the statue, in between the breasts of this Venus statue or whatever it is, which apparently there are many of. Maybe, they just happen to go back in time, like in that one episode of Doctor Who, and have the artist of whatever statue we are looking at there make multiples, all of which are the real thing, somehow. Of course, this time, unlike that episode of Doctor Who, it's not the Mona Lisa in question, but anyway. From here, I'm not sure I remember where to go, but I'll try to figure it out. I'm sure this door is open. Yep, it's open. And where is it? Oh, this room. This room, the room of terror and doom. The room that, if I remember correctly, Anne was thrown out the window of. And there's a lantern. Get the lantern. A lantern was left here. Picked up a lantern. You got a lantern. A lantern. Get. There's a red blotch all over the desk. Yes, there is. I wonder who lit this. Should kind of obvious at this point in the game. Trash bin is empty. There's a huge hole in the window. This is where Anne... ... Yes, a portrait of a a portrait of Jabba the Hutt, because Jabba the Hutt is definitely a middle-aged woman. Oh my gosh, Jabba the Hutt is a middle-aged woman. It's a picture of a woman. This person looks familiar. Oh my gosh. That's because she was in the beginning of the game, and she led you into this death trap of a house. The things written here... Wait, the things written here look serious. Question, 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 question. What is that even supposed to mean? Wait. Skull in the chandelier. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Never noticed that before. Okay, this is the room of the ever so charming Bobby Barrows, the scissor man. It feels like someone's watching. Yeah, get used to that feeling. I feel it all the time. It's called having paranoia. Logan Whitehurst actually wrote a song about it before he died. I would say mysteriously, but, he died of brain cancer, and we all knew that was going to happen at some point because, well, he had suffered from it for most of his life. It was really sad. I wish I had gotten to meet him. I was a huge fan. But anyway, a key was left on it. What? Okay. And then stuff is gonna happen here. Just really now, come on. You can do better than this. This French doll dangling from the ceiling. I mean, what? You could have done better than that. Duck, 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 duck. Okay, whatever. So anyway... Yeah, apparently Scissorman has had a fairly disturbed childhood, living in this room with all of these creepy dolls and with a pair of garden shears with which he has torn everything in the room to shreds. In fact, these are the remains of some of his toys. There's the head of a doll here, and some other bits of a doll, and there was something I was going to do while I was here. It looks like a child's bed. It's dirty with stains and dust. I see. ... It's a big clown doll. So, exiting the room, the Let's Play is getting proceedingly more and more boring. My humor is becoming more and more dull because I've used most of my wit at the beginning to make it grand and hook your attention and lure you into this boring video that I may or may not call a Let's Play. We're opening the door there. And, oh, this room again. What happens if I play the piano? He's probably going to drop from the ceiling like he does practically every time I play the piano. But, worth playing the piano anyway. It's a nice little tune there. Play it on the piano. This mansion has great potential. I mean, this is the perfect little music room. It's got, a portrait of Elvis on the wall and, junk. That could be used for keeping records and CDs and whatnot, tapes. And yes, I do know what a record is. Strangely enough, I actually know people who do not know what a record is. What vinyl and all that. Hey, a record player. It's unplugged. There's all kinds of music here. But yeah, it's kind of sad how stupid today's youth is. You've got people who, I've actually known someone I know someone who don't know what crops are. Yeah, I've known someone again with the random cockney. I've known someone who doesn't know what crops and harvesting are. It's a bit pathetic. Ugh, I'm tired. It's probably because it's 3:18 in the morning and 3 seconds. But, okay, I don't need to go back here. I have the ceremony key, I have the stone idol. Kind of wasted time just walking through the halls there. Let's speed up here. Come on. Again, you'll notice I'm not stopping for, recharging my health. I'll have plenty of time to do that later. But, for now, I'm kind of in a hurry because I've just realized I've wasted a bunch of time when I could be, doing something productive here. So, I'm going to go down and... Bet you didn't expect that. I told you to expect it. There's always going to be something that, make you laugh or jump in surprise. But you will occasionally hear me saying enne throughout the course of the video. Again, that's a reference to another YouTube video. Another one I'll post the link to in the description. Along with the Jaj. Hey, how's it going? I'm Jaj. Saying enne. But yeah, I need to go this way now, I think. At this point, oh, jeez, I thought, I need to pay more attention to the screen, because if I don't, I'll think that, Jennifer's little mugshot on the heads-up display is like the Grim Reaper or something. I'm tired. I already said that, but I felt like it needed saying again. I think this is the correct room. No, it really isn't. But, you know, I might as well use that lantern for what it was intended for. Let's see, what have I got in the way of items? I kind of want to know. I'll wait until after this. Something shiny in there. A key. What is it for? The copper key. Oh, that's for getting out. That's the main key for the front door. But anyway. So what have I got? I got the copper key, the lantern, the demon idol, insecticide, black robe. Okay, essentially I've got everything I need for this particular part of the game. And then some. I don't need the insecticide, because that was for another thing where you got a different key, and then that took you on a completely different path through the game. Here we go. Here's the room. It's a crow corpse, the neck's completely severed. You know, we're in the house of Satanists here in this game. The entire point is escaping. What better setting for a game that's supposed to scare you than a place where Satanists live? Because Satanists are very scary. They worship the Prince of Darkness, the King of Sin. So, you know, Satanists are not good people. You need to realize this. It's not the atheists that are bad, it's the Satanists. Get it right, children. If you're, if you're a child watching this video, there's something wrong with you and your parents. Especially if you're, a small Christian child watching this video. I'm not really sure what my religious beliefs are, but, if you are a Christian, if you're a small child of any description watching this video, then you have issues, and your parents are not strict enough with, oh, jeez. Again, with the, I should expect this, because I've played the game over and over again, but, being awake at 3:22 in the morning tends to have that effect on you. So we're going to walk along here. And of course, Jennifer can't see the dog, like, not 10 feet away from her. She has to, walk up to it and then hear it growling. Something's there. It's not necessarily all that dark. There are torches and stuff in the cave. So, okay, there's a certain part of the screen where you have to put your cursor to put on the robes. Where is it? Let's find it. No, not the copper key. How do I use these again? Is it there? There we go, but it's glitched. Okay, now that I've... Okay. So now the dog thinks I'm Mary. Okay, now that I figured that little bit out, we're going to go here, And we're going to find one of Jennifer's friends in the middle of a satanic ritual. Not, performing the ritual, but being the sacrifice in the ritual. This game has a lot to do with Satanism, but, it's not promoting Satanism, it's basically saying Satanism is evil, which it is. So it's essentially about a struggle between good and evil, right and wrong, blah blah blah, but it's presented in the format of a horror game, where the protagonists are, for the most part, helpless, but they still triumph in the end. Which, it's a good message conveyed in a frightening, but, I guess a bit sort of accurate way. Yeah. Come on, there's the door. Come on, how do I get in? There's the door. Okay, go into this part of the cave. And this part of the cave, is a cave, for one thing. Still never figured out what this thing here is. Why is it when she looks at tables, she just blanks out? Okay, there are cans of kerosene here. That's important very soon. But anyway, I always felt a little creeped out at this part, because they look like eyes. You'll see what they are later, but they're not eyes. They look like them. Well, okay, you won't necessarily see what they are. They're essentially those, candle bracket things on the walls, but they're off in the distance in a different part of the cave. If this game took place back in the 1920s, these little caves would have made a pretty nice speakeasy. Good old Prohibition. Creating organized crime since 1920. But anyway, or whenever Prohibition started. I don't know. It was during the 20s. So yeah, I learned about this from Lackadaisy, so whatever. And here we go. It's a Jabba the Hutt, baby. It's Jabba the Hutt's love child with Chucky. I don't know. My humor is running out. Okay, time to press the Option key, the Alt key, whatever you want to call it. Come on, just keep running, keep running, keep running. My goodness, child. Climb. Start climbing. Why do you have to stand there at the base of the slope before climbing? Okay, keep climbing. For goodness sake, child. You're gonna die if you don't climb. And huge flaming explosion now. That's the sound an explosion makes. Take that, Satanism. That's right. Burnt up in your own hellfire. Speaking of which, that was a very good song from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And now the caves are about to collapse, so I need to get the hell out of here. Where's the door into that part of the cave where the elevator is located? Because yes, they just conveniently happen to have an elevator. Why is it that the Satanists get all the cool gadgets? They're the evil ones. Why can't we get cool gadgets? We're not going around sacrificing teenage girls in satanic rituals and such. We're the good guys. We deserve good stuff. Sort of. Okay, this may or may not lead to one of the worst possible endings. Okay, go black. Screen, go black. Now. Thank God. Okay, which floor am I going to? I'm going to go to floor 2 or 3. Let's go to 2. Because that's where the plot is revealed more clearly. Alright. Now we're gonna get, you know, the clock tower plotline for dummies here, as told by Mary Barrows, who I'm sure you've figured out by now is evil and satanic and needs to be disposed of in a way befitting an evil satanic woman. Oh, and it's raining outside all of a sudden. Thunder and lightning and such, like last night. Jennifer, you've been a terrible daughter. My son is dead because of you. And now she gets this evil look on her face. And now, option, 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 option. Don't let her stab you. Push her down and then run. The game is nearing its conclusion. This is the climax. She's calling Bobby. Bobby, I choose you. Get this girl. She's the one who killed Dan. Oh my gosh. The game isn't really scary. But, you know, I like the fact that the enemies are Satanists. Because, you know, most horror villains are Satanist. Because it just makes sense. They worship Satan, for crying out loud. They'd make good horror villains. So, anyway, climbing up the ladder. And apparently she has to, you know, stop and look out on the grounds. Okay, finally, the epic chase scene up the ladder. This game is truly epic. This game is the one game in the series that should be made into a movie. There she goes. But this game is the one game in the entire Clock Tower series that would make a good movie. And they're making a movie of Clock Tower. But guess which game it is? Not this one. Okay, and this is basically just a cutscene from this point on, because I've essentially lost control of my character. And Bobby doesn't like the sound of the clockwork, so he's going to, without paying attention to where he's going, just sort of fall to his death. Yes, not only are Satanists evil, but they're apparently stupid and fairly weird. So, let that be a lesson to you. Never, if you're not a Satanist already, don't become a Satanist, because all Satanists are stupid and, weird, and kind of creepy. If you're a Satanist and you're watching this video, well, okay, I've offended you. Go ahead. You know, put negative comments on my channel. I really don't care. If it's coming from a Satanist, a negative comment is praise. So, you know, just saying. So this is the end of the game. Final cutscene. I don't remember which ending this would be, but, it's a good ending for Jennifer. Not so much for her friends. You know, the whole good ending concept here is sort of ruined in the second one. But, you know, whatever. Sometimes I like to try to pronounce the names of the people who made this game. Hiroyasu Ichizaki. Naoki Tsunoda. I don't even know. Nobuhiro Fuji. That one's okay. Akiyoshi Ijima. Monster original design. And the thing is, like, if my parents have somehow found this video and are watching it, the thing is, don't focus on the fact that the enemies are Satanists. Okay, maybe I should phrase that differently. Don't focus on the fact that the game deals with Satanism, because it's not, like, teaching you about, like, satanic rituals and stuff. It's not telling you to be a Satanist. It's essentially, like, I mean, think about it. The antagonists of the game are the Satanists. As I've said before, and I use this as my argument every single time I try to convince my parents that this is an okay game, it's that the Satanists are not the good guys in the game. They're the bad guys. It's a struggle between good and evil, and it's not, you know, you're not the one being violent in this game. You know, my parents are fairly concerned with violence in video games. Now, you know, after the whole Lost incident, my mom says that Dad has no right to question the amount of violence in any video game I play. But, oh, face graphic. Miyawako, whatever. He needs to be fired. But anyway, it's... But, you know, they're always concerned about the amount of violence in the video games I play. Team Fortress 2, Half-Life, and such. They seem to be concerned about that. But I don't think it's like the violence and stuff that matters. You shouldn't be focusing on that. It's sort of like, in the words of Rowan Atkinson, or something along those lines, he said, I don't remember. He said something along the lines of, "This morbid fascination with your son's death is rather disturbing." But yeah, don't focus on the violence. Focus on the plot of the game, or the context of the violence. This game does have violence in it, but you're not the one who's being violent. But anyway, the game is over. So I might as well stop ranting and conclude this ridiculous video. This has been Gordon Clark of Toe of Animation Productions, running out of things to say and rambling on about pointless nonsense that will probably get me into some amount of trouble with young Christian children and Satanists. So, yeah. But I don't care if Satanists are my enemies, because, you know, having been a Christian for most of my life, the Satanists are pretty much my enemies anyway. But it's time to wrap up this video, because we're already back on the title screen. The game has restarted itself because I have completed it. I might as well check the ending list and see if there's anything new there, and oh, would you look at that, there's not. So, this is the end of the video. It is time to wrap it up. So, as I said before, this has been Gordon Clark of Toe of Animation Productions, finally giving you Let's Play Clock Tower, like I promised I would do for about 2 years. And with that, I conclude this awful video.